Glue Wednesday. You see, it's my belief that we don't have to get over. We need to find ways to keep it together. And my glue is G-L-U-E. God's love undoes everything, because that's what keeps it together. That life is about going from one puzzle to the next. You're either a small, medium, or large piece of each puzzle in your family, social, or business relationships. Yet, no matter what size puzzle piece you think you are, without you, the puzzle is labeled as incomplete. Good broadcast, and welcome to Glue Wednesday. And I say good broadcast because I don't know whether it's day, evening, night, afternoon for you, and that's the joy of life, is that you get to find out things when you want them. That's what's going on in our world of technology so often. Everything is about being in the moment. And so that's what I like to do, is make sure that we are in the moment on Glue Wednesday. So I call it Glue Wednesday because so often people use the cliche of Wednesday being hump day. I believe that hump has the connotation of the need to get over when in fact what we need to do is keep it together. So that's where my glue comes in. And my glue is G-L-U-E. God's love undoes everything. I've got a special part of glue that I'm going to talk about today. And in fact, I'm going to talk about the glue that starts a lot of us off. My topic today is mom. You know, I think it's so interesting how we can restrict our celebration to a Sunday in May every year for the woman who brought us into this world. Mother's Day is every day. And technically, so is every other holiday. Do not let a man-made calendar restrict your celebration of the important people in your life. So I'm going to just extend this Mother's Day by giving us a tribute. I'm going to read to you from two of my favorite authors. The first I want to actually tell you, well, first I'll give you something from my favorite author, and then I'll go to my second favorite. My favorite author is me. Okay, so what I did this past weekend before Mother's Day's weekend, I posted Mom, M-O-M, Making Our Memories. Mom, making our memories, because that's what mothers do. They make memories for us. They start us from scratch. But I also had Mom as M-O-M, maternal or memorable. Maternal or memorable, because your mother does not necessarily, the person who you sent your love to, especially if your mother's not here, is still someone that doesn't have to be your maternal mother. So often we end up choosing the mothers in our lives. In fact, don't you hear how people say, well, you know, you can't choose your family? That's the truth. Sometimes you would rather not choose the people who are in your family. But we want to talk about the one that chose to bring you into this world, and that's the mother. So no one puts and keeps it together like a good mother. Umbilical cord not required. Have a great Mother's Day weekend. And that was my message. And I want to start with that, and let's move on to my second favorite author. And this is something that I found on the internet, and it's called Mom. A woman named Emily, renewing her driver's license at the county clerk's office, was asked by the woman recorder to state her occupation. She hesitated, uncertain how to classify herself. What I mean, explained the recorder, is, do you have a job? Or you just and of course I have a job, Emily said. I'm a mom. I forgot all about her story until one day I found myself in the same situation, this time at our own town hall. The clerk was obviously a career woman, poised, efficient, and possessed a high-sounding title like official interrogator or town registrar. What is your occupation, she probed. What made me say it, I do not know. The words simply and slowly popped out. I'm a research associate in the field of child development and human relations. The clerk paused, ballpoint pen frozen in midair, and looked up as though she had not heard right. I repeated the title slowly, emphasizing the most significant words. I'm a research associate in the field of child development and human relations. Then I stared with wonder as my pronouncement was written in bold black ink on the official questionnaire. Might I ask, said the clerk with new interest, just what do you do in your field? Well, coolly, without any trace of fluster in my voice, I heard myself replying, I have a continuing program of research. What mother doesn't? In the laboratory and in the field. Normally I would have said indoors and outdoors. I'm working on my master's. No, I'm working for my master's. The whole darn family. And already have 4 credits, all daughters. Of course, the job is one of the most demanding in our humanities, in the humanities. And any mother would any mother care to disagree? And I often work 14 hours a day. 24 is more like it. But the job is more challenging than most run-of-the-mill careers, and the rewards are more of a satisfaction rather than money. There was an increasing note of respect in the clerk's voice as she completed the form, stood up, and personally ushered me to the door. As I drove into our driveway, buoyed up by my glamorous new career, I was greeted by my lab assistants, ages 13, 7, and 3. Upstairs, I could hear our new experimental model, a 6-month-old baby, in the child development program, testing out a new vocal program. I felt I had scored a beat on bureaucracy. And I had gone on the official records as someone more distinguished and indispensable to mankind than just another mom. Motherhood. What a glorious concept, especially when there's a title on the door. So does this make grandmothers senior research associates in the field of child development and human relations? And great-grandmothers executive senior research associates? I think so. I also think it makes aunts associate research assistants. And then now this is me really sporty, I threw in uncles, associate research assistants also, and fathers, research associate partner. Please send this, because I got this in an email, please send this to another mom, grandmom, aunt, uncle, father, and other friends that you know. And the author, Mom, Making Our Memories. And if you start to think about it, I mean, it's always one of those biggest cliche jokes. The hardest job on the planet is that of being a parent. And of course, that's really the subset of the hardest job is really being a mother. Because the mother is the one that's guaranteed pretty much to go the whole length of the pregnancy and the child. Sometimes it's the big joke on Father's Day. They say that the most mysterious day of the week in June is Father's Day because it's mama's baby, papa's maybe. So it's so important to love the mothers in our lives. So this next one, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking. I just want to just make you think about your mother. Can you think about all those things that she's done when she had to work for you tirelessly, where you had to figure out that, how does she do it? Have you figured out how your mother did it? I know I haven't. But you know what? The good thing for me is I don't bother trying, because all I care about is the fact that she did it. In fact, today I'm also wearing a shirt to remind me of the memories that my mother brought me. This one is just from the Bahamas. It was the last trip that we took together. And we took my mother, me and my sister, we took my mother to the Bahamas for a wedding. And we had an absolute ball. You know the joke they say is the person at the funeral who's crying the most and trying to jump in the casket is the one that didn't do their mothers right while they were alive. Make sure you spend that time with your mother. And of course, spread that out. Make sure you spend that time with the important people in your life, because you recognize them because of what the spirit that your mother has probably planted in you. If she did it right, and most of them do it right, because the truth is, children come with no rule book. How can anybody actually be a bad mother when they're doing the best that they can? Regardless of what age they had you, especially if they had you young, and they hadn't even gotten through their teenagers, and most likely they certainly haven't gotten through their 20s. When you're in that big development stage of finding who you are, how could you speak ill of someone who made that type of a sacrifice for you? Think about that relationship and find a place in your heart to renew any ill feelings that you may have had to your mother. And I think that probably most women can have an easier time getting past that when they become a mother and see what it really takes. Sometimes guys might not know that because we didn't have to go through the pregnancy process. But you should still make sure that you go back and make those amends with your mother and recognize that every single mother was a good mother. Because without her, you wouldn't have been in this world. And it was a choice to bring you in this world. In fact, here's one of the things that my mother did is that she was she raised a lot of kids on the block. And so her nickname was Leah, even though her birth name was Mary Louise, but we called her Leah. And she was the mother of I grew up in the projects in New York. She was the mother of the projects, and a lot of kids went through that house. So we created every August. She's been gone now 11 years. But every August, what we do is we have a memorial cookout for her. And actually, I do a little tribute to her. And so what I did 2 years ago was I created a thing called Leah's Kitchen and Child Rearing Center. And what we did is we said this is what she should give to everybody when they first bring their kids in for them to be babysat. So it says, please familiarize your child or your children with the following terminology, as this is the primary language to be used by the Commander-in-Chief at the center. If there's a term you're not familiar with or disapprove of, that's too bad about you, because mama didn't raise no fool. Keep your kids at home next time. And so that's the thing. So I've naturally, as I go through the list, and my family and friends know, I had to cut some of this stuff out so that we can get it on the broadcast and keep it as a PG-55, if not 13. Well, here's some of the stuff that you'd hear my mother say. If you say, Mommy, I want some more meat, pleased to meet you. I'm Mary Louise. Or Mommy, I want some more meat. You better go meet your Jesus. And then if you're sitting there with the food, you're going to eat it if it gets ice cold. Mm-hmm. And also, you should have said it was too much on your plate when I put it on your plate. Now that one, she was wrong for that one, because we really didn't have a vote. You know, because when she put the portion on your plate, if you would have dared to say that that's too much, she would have looked at you like, well, since when did you start cooking it here? And tell me how much to put on your plate. So that one she got away with, but that's the way it goes. Then we didn't have babysitting back then. You know, one of the jokes we always use in my family is that if they had child abuse laws, that my mother would have been under the jail. But we would joke with her about that, and you know, because actually she was wonderful. There were 3 of us growing up, and we had to babysit ourselves. So what was her rule when she went out? I don't care if it's mama, don't open that door. We were not allowed to open that door. And I saw a joke, in fact, a recent joke on the internet, and I don't even think it was a joke now that I'm saying it out loud, of a kid who was told not to open the door for anybody, and their father came. And the kid wouldn't open the door, and the father called the grandmother wouldn't open the door for the grandmother either. So, but that was one of the ones that was planted in us, and she said, yeah, I don't care if it's mama, don't open my door, and mama's dead. So we were like, wow, what are we going to do? You know, if a ghost comes to the door, we have to ignore it, but that's the way it goes. Then she'd say to us sometimes, I tried them same tricks when I was your age. And in my mind, I used to say, because I'd be mad at her when she said one of them, I'd say, you was never this age. You know, because you tend to think that your mother was born the age that she was born. Most people can't picture their mother as a kid because she had you. So yeah, I tried them same tricks when I was your age. And then she'd say, and this was my favorite one, when you get grown enough to run this house, you get out. So, you know, I'm waiting to hear that sentence because I'm, you know, trying to be the man of the family. When you get grown enough to run this house, then you run it. I'm thinking that's the way it's supposed to. You know, when you get grown enough to run this house, you get out. It was clear whose house that was. She said, this is my house, and we will do things the way I do it. One of the signs that I have in my house now is make yourself at home, but remember that you're not. Because the key is, it's my house. And see, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to make sure you take care of your space in your house. You control who comes in there. It's terrible when you hear somebody say, well, they came over. Don't answer the door. Don't invite negativity into your house. Suddenly you see how you can change that into a house being your living space as well as being in your spirit. That's your house. This is your temple. So you got to make sure that you stop the people that come in that are bringing the negative feedback, because that's what ends up happening. The feedback comes out of you. Mm-hmm. You hear people all the time say, I want to get the negative people out of my life. Bulletin, you can't. Mm-hmm. What you can do is offer them a positive person in their life, because they're probably saying, I want to get the positive people out of my life. I welcome the negative people in, because the truth is I can out positive any negative person that I meet, because I'm in charge of my life. And you have to be in charge of your life so severely and so strongly and so committed that you cannot and you do not and you will not allow anybody to be a negative influence or a negative, a continued negative influence in your life. Because they can bring a partial negative influence in, but don't let it be continual. That's still something that my mother instilled in me. So let's go on with the child learning sentence. She said, you know darn well that doesn't belong there. So we never could put something in the wrong place. You know, we didn't have, back then, you know, with the TV, the kid was the remote control. So the thing is, you know, if you want the TV station changed, you just call somebody and they go change it. But we had to put stuff back where it was. And that's one of the things she said to us. And then if you get ready to bother something to her, she look at you and say, I wish you would. Now, and did you see the look? Because that's what we had to learn. I wish you would. And in your mind, as a child, see, this is why you have to recognize how strong mothers are, and just how actually good people who raise you are, because you learn psychotherapy. You know, I wish you would. Now, first, as a kid, if I'm saying, oh, I wish you would, okay, well, let me do what she wishes. No, you had to learn that. No, this is another way of my saying, don't you dare. So you had to be smart in my family to get through, and you had to be smart in that house. And then she'd also say, now touch it again. Okay, so, you know, so first you got through, I wish you would, so you went and touched it, you said, now touch it again. And then you caught on that one. You think, no, maybe I better let this one go. And then she said, and then actually, after you get your penalty, she said, you better shut up before I give you something to cry for. And I laugh at some of these lines, by the way, because I think, you know, parents go to PU, Parent University, and they learn to say some of these things, because I hear my sister saying them to her kids as well, and so that becomes a big joke, too. In fact, what we do, maybe every year or so, is we'll get on the phone and we'll text favorite lines from my mother. And, you know, you can only text one and let somebody else text a line that they like that she used, and we just crack up texting. So that's a good way if your mother's deceased and you want to share some memories about her, text to your family. You know, pick a time slot or a day where everybody's texting something that mom used to say to them. And really, you don't have to wait for your mother to be deceased to do that. You can do it while she's alive. She should still get a good kick out of it. I know my mother did. We'd say stuff to her, and she would just crack up, you know, we'd say, well, I remember you said this I did that. She knew damn well she did it. But the thing is, you know, that's just how she was, and that's how much we enjoyed her. Then she'd also say, sit down and act like you got some sense. And then I'm not going to go with each one. I'll just rattle a couple off. You better go somewhere and lay down. Get it together, mister. Rest your nerves. And now, what are you supposed to be? Now, where are you supposed to be? That's especially if you came out of the room when you're supposed to be laying down. So just look at, where are you supposed to be? And then she said, who told you to get up? Because that was one of the things that was clear. This is my house, and what I say goes. And then she'd say, when she screamed back there, I better not catch you up when I come back there, because she'd hear the kids in the back laughing and joking. I better not catch you up when I come back there. And then if a kid was crying, and this is one that I definitely use today, and let me give you, those young parents, let me give you a tip on this one. Their stomach's full, the diapers changed, let them cry themselves to sleep. You know, so many parents, young parents, oh, the baby's crying, they go to pick them up. Let them cry. It's good for their lungs. It clears out the mucus. One of my broadcast partners here on the Wake Up Call Network is Doc Honeycutt, and maybe we'll have to get her to confirm that. But I mean, when you think about it, when a child is born or to deliver, why do you think they smack them on the butt? You think they starting to get them used to abuse? No, it's to get them. They get the phlegm out of their lungs and get them going again. Unofficial, check it with a doctor. But the thing is, that was one of her favorites. The stomach's full, the diapers change, let them cry themselves to sleep. Maybe they're going to be an opera singer when they grow up. Let the baby cry. Children start to control you at an early age, and there's no saying what that age is. It's just like your child recognizes your smell. They recognize your touch. They know who's picking them up, and they know that when I do this, this happens. They start that at an early age. Don't think you can wait to start raising your child at 2 and 3. You got to start raising your child at 2 and 3 days. Because, again, that goes back to what we're talking about. This mother, it's the, Child Research a children's research analyst. And it's not hard. That's what they're doing, is researching, okay? Then this is what she'll say too. Did I tell you to move that? Did I tell you to touch that? Did I tell you to eat that? Did I tell you to do that? So it was always clear that we should be following her orders. And that's one of the things that if you want to translate that fast forward to grown-up years, that's respect. You've got to learn how to respect people in your life. That's another reason, one of the messages I'll always tell you is choose your messengers carefully. And recognize that you're someone's messenger as well. Who are you going to follow? Because somebody's message that you use is going to have a domino effect and impact someone else. So I am glad to say to my audience that sometimes you're getting stuff from my mother and you're learning from her. Because if she had not infused it in me, I would not be able to share with my audiences. And the things that I truly and honestly believe, and I stick to them. What do you honestly believe, and what will you stick to as well? Okay? And then she'll say, see, you get away with that at home, but you're here now, honey. Mm-hmm. And I used to, and we would sit there and go, yeah, she's right. Because, you know, so many times children, once they come to someplace else, they act a little differently. And she would let them know, no, you know, your parents may let you get away with that, but I'm not letting you get away with it. And sometimes, and that's why in the opening it'll say, where she'll say, where I said that she'll say, you know, if you don't want to use this language, you don't want me to talk to your kids this way, don't bring them here. That was really the other part of the rule, because they will be raised according to her house rules. And she let the parents see, look, this is how I'll be talking to your kids. This is what they will learn. And if you choose not to do it when they go home, that's on you. Now, the first couple of days, sometimes, usually the kid is happy when the parent comes back. They're like, oh, this was interrogation. Get me out of here. But you know what? I really can't put a time on it, but I would bet that it's really just as fast as a week, that when the parent comes to pick up the kid is not ready to go home. Because children love discipline. Ladies and gentlemen, children love discipline. The Bible tells you how to discipline. It's proper discipline that makes a difference. But don't decide that you should not discipline your children. What you're doing is you're teaching them to respect authority. If the only time we can give, if we're screaming at the referee all the time, if every call is bad, if everything on the news is going against us, you know, you're black and you're never going to be this, you know, if you start to feed people that, then they start to believe it. And then when they grow up, then they become the victim. And then what does the victim do? The victim attracts negativity. So it's really important that you start to recognize how much you have to let people know as an adult, and as a messenger, you have to let them know what path they need to follow. Because the truth is, it's not a hard choice between good and evil. The hard choice is between good and good. That's when you have a tough time. Should I go this way? This is looking good. Or should I go this way? This is even looking better. That's a hard choice. It's not saying, oh, you know, this is looking great. Man, this is looking crappy. Should I go that way? That's not a hard choice. Don't you let the misunderstanding of what a good choice is stop you from going in the direction that you need to go in your life. So let's give you a couple more from my mother, because the one thing she said, not here, sweetheart, you ain't grown. And then she said, what did I say? And you know what, I even had that in 2 places. And then she said, didn't I tell you to put that back? And just questioning kids, because she wasn't a Gestapo. I want to close with some of the good things that she said, because those are the things that she said to make it clear. And I think it has benefited me in my life. It makes it clear when I put myself, when I volunteer my time to be in a leadership role, I mean for things to go the way I want them to go. I'm not going to volunteer my time to do anything that I don't want the proper outcome, and I'm certainly not going to work and not get the proper outcome to where I'm being physically paid and not getting the outcome. If someone is paying you to do a job, and really, what are they really paying you to do? They're paying you to be yourself, because paying attention is the highest form of pay that you can get. So when people will listen to you and allow you to move them forward, that's the highest pay that you can get. And when that is being done, you have to make sure that you deliver. So really think about who you are and whose memories you are going to pass on, and make sure that you deliver. Because here's one of the things that she used to say, and she said, I love the little kids. They're just repeater machines. Because and isn't it, children mock and mirror adults. She just loves how children repeat everything that they heard her say. What's the first word that most kids learn? No. Because they hear no so often, and they say no back to you. Then you have to teach them how to use the word no. Life is about putting things into context. And if you find things out of context, that's where you'll usually find people trying to disrupt your life by taking something out of context. Even the good book, even the Bible is shared in context. So therefore, you have to also be careful of the pastors that you choose. The best use that your pastor can get out of you is for you to confirm what they're saying, not need what they're saying. Because they have studied the Bible and they know what they're trying to say to you. Wouldn't it be a better service to them when they read you scripture and say, this is the way God has said it, and you say, you know what, that's right, I got that too. That's what they need. They don't need somebody that's sitting there, giving them checking it out. And, I'm going to just go do what he says. I'm going to do what she says. That's not serving the Lord. So don't put your pastor under that kind of pressure. Make sure that you do your Bible study as well, so that now when you shout, when they say something, you can confirm what they know. That's because that's their highest. That's their high. When you're paying attention to them, that's the highest salary they can get as well. My mother also said, smart as a Benzie bug. That's what she talked when she's talking about the little kids, how smart as a Benzie bug. And then she said, he's a handsome old thing. And she's just as cute as she can be. And she always said those things to the kids, and they could hear and say, go on, Mommy, let me see you dance. You know how good that makes a little kid feel. That was one of the things that she did. And then she said, you finished, Mommy? Okay, go lay down. And the last thing she said, bless you, and thank you for coming today. So, it's my mother made a lot of memories. I got a lot of good quotes from her. When I was competing in the Toastmaster speech contest, my contest was about her. It was called Stuff Happens, and it was situations that unleash our focus and faith, STUFF. But the stuff that I was talking about was the fact that I had to sit and see my mother take her last breath. And that's something that I had to get through. You've got a lot of stuff and a lot of challenge in your life that you've had to get through. But have you given yourself credit? You've gone through a lot of things. And that's why I say motherhood should not be restricted to a day of the year. Mothers, thank you for all that you've gone through. Surrogate mothers, aunts, uncles, fathers, grands, everybody is in this whole picture. It's just like they say, it takes a village to raise a child, and there's some people in the village that don't get a vote. So you have to make sure that you put your village together just right. Cherish your mother, cherish the memories of your mother, and cherish the memories that you are going to create for someone in a motherhood position, or whether you want to call it a leadership position, however you want to call it. But recognize that without you, people's glue can't stick together. And the glue is G-L-U-E. God's love undoes everything. Recognize that life is about going from one puzzle to the next. You're either a small, medium, or large piece of the puzzle in all of your social, family, and business relationships. Yet no matter what size puzzle piece you see yourself as, without you, the puzzle is called incomplete. Don't let an incomplete puzzle ruin your day, and certainly don't let it ruin Mother's Day. M-O-M, making our memories, and M-O-M, maternal. What did I say maternal stood for? Stay with me. There we go. Maternal or memorable. Ciao, this is Sporty King.